Doko Don is a 1989 platform game released in arcades only in Japan. It was ported to the Famicom and PC Engine the following year. Another Taito single-screen adventure? Oh, you betcha. So grab your mallets and get ready to bash some heads. In a cutesy way, of course. In Doko Don for the PC Engine, the controllable characters are dwarves, with some very stylish beards, I may add, who have an extremely powerful mallet at their disposal. Basically, enemies can be stunned and squashed with this mallet. Yikes, that's pretty morbid. Then they can be picked up and tossed. Throwing an enemy into another enemy destroys them. You can also toss them into walls. Ha! Suck wall! You have the ability to pick up multiple characters at a time. However, it does slow you down. Enemies don't all just wander around the stage either. Some will attack you, so be careful. Fire, boomerangs, the chefs will use knives. That's not very sanitary. If you waste too much time removing enemies from the equation, they will pop back to life, so you are limited in time. After you clear all enemies from the screen, you'll move on to the next, rinse, and repeat. If this all sounds familiar, it's because Taito has created similar games, including Bubble Bobble and one we've covered here in TurboView's Parasol Stars. If you're acquainted with the typical structure of those games, you should have no trouble here. Although the mechanics and controls are a little trickier here than in those other games, and it will take some time to master. There are 5 different themed worlds with 10 sub-stages each, and of course you face a boss at the end. After you press run, you can select 1 or 2 players. Then you see a princess being kidnapped, and the game begins immediately. Also, right away, you'll notice that your character moves very slow. Luckily, you can increase speed by snagging those speed power-ups. These and other items are left behind by defeated enemies or often just appear out of thin air. You have items like blue hammers, which you can toss. Yeah, turbo switches up and fire away, or hammer away. Gray hammers, which are numerous and destroy in one hit. Dropped fruit is great for points. In fact, there is a ton of fruit to collect. Red potions and P icons will expand the power level of your character, which is calculated at the bottom of the screen. You can really plow through enemies, toss them through walls, and, well, you just rock when your power meter is full. You also got falling stars, the king icon for freezing enemies. That's a fun one. Oh, yeah, and this poison apple that decreases your power? Aside from that one, the items are fun to collect and really add to the game. Doko Don has some fun stages, but there are times the stage itself will get in the way. The walls will keep you from attacking, so you have to maneuver carefully around. There are even times you have to deal with weird terrain, such as fluffy, bouncy stuff, or icy surfaces. Trying to figure this out is part of the level strategy, but at the same time, I won't lie, it can get frustrating. Don't get me started on these spinning platforms. Luckily, you can break the stage at times, which is kind of cool. You also have to watch the angle of your jumps. If there are enemies above, you will slam into them, and well, you know what happens. Try to strategize an angle of attack. Honestly, sometimes forging ahead and just beating the crap out of enemies works just fine. Some obstacles in a stage actually can be used to destroy enemies, such as the slides, which knock enemies into one another. The structure of the various levels is pretty diverse, and I give them credit for throwing something new at you all the time. Sadly, one hit and you're a goner. Or take too long and you're a goner. No pressure. you will materialize at the bottom of the stage and continue where you left off. When all your lives are depleted, you can continue. Now, while there are limited continues, it does put you in the same spot, so there is no backtracking. And that's kind of nice of them, I think. Doko Don has very colorful graphics and is extremely cute. There is a lot of character here in all of the enemies and stages. It's very bright and nice to look at. In fact, the PC Engine version recreates the arcade game pretty well. Overall, I can say that the game is very pleasing to the eyes. The music is also very fun. It has an upbeat feel and definitely sets a good mood. The sound effects from hammers being tossed, enemies being kicked around, etc., etc., are all nice and at times subtle. Once you get used to the controls, you will find the character is pretty responsive. The directional key moves him about, button 1 jumps, and button 2 uses the hammer. Once I got into the groove of it all, I never could have asked for better controls, and it all flows very well. I find Doko Don to be a great little game. It will take you a little longer to figure out what to do than others of a similar type, but once you grab hold, you'll be giving enemies some concussions without fail. For some reason, slamming enemies into each other is really fun. Why? I have no idea. I found myself enjoying the experience, but there are a few frustrating enemies. The characters who freeze you, yeah, they're annoying. Oh, and those idiots who keep creating enemies over and over and over, yeah, I can't handle them either. There are not many hidden items in the game, but at the end, the princess will give you a code. Finding the secret door and entering this code will fling you into 50 more levels that are rearranged and more difficult. It is also a path to the true ending. Very nice. Let's not gloss over the fact that there is also a really fun 2-player mode. This is a welcome addition and is a lot of fun, as you can work together by swapping power-ups, for example, or work against by tossing enemies into one another. And with that said, I say if you have a PC Engine and you like these kinds of games, give Doko Don a try. Hey, get off my lawn. Doko Don is a fun single-screen platform game made by the gang at Taito. Once again, they did a nice job here. The PC Engine version is a very faithful port of the arcade game with a nice look, good control, a lot of variety, and some unique stages. It is fun for the most part, so remember, hammer, squish, toss, and repeat.